I think it's a remix of Something Going On by Frida, isn't it?
Okay, so that's my favorite part of the show, and it almost went away because, but Chris Bradshaw, because of you, we are keeping around the guessing the wrestling theme. I was just about to be done with it because it didn't seem like anybody was playing along, but Chris Bradshaw, because of you, man, we're keeping it because
Crockett felt the same way about the Western Heritage States belt.
he guessed it right last week. It was, remember what it was? You didn't pay attention either, did you?
Oh no, it's Power Hour.
NWA Power Hour.
We're still waiting on the last one, the one before that.
So
right? Yeah.
So uh so there's this week's theme. And Chris Bradshaw, again, we can all everybody in the Gary Hart Fan Club Nation can thank Chris Bradshaw. I think anyways. And Chris has a couple questions, a couple very good questions. Okay. And again, if you have any questions, send them to us. Even if you disagree with something we say, send it on and let's talk about it. And if you want to talk about maybe the NWO, the Four Horsemen, like I said, even if you disagree with something. All right, here we go. Chris Bradshaw, the theme is from the Power Hour, Friday nights on TBS. Indeed. So following up on your mentioning Roddy Piper possibly coming to Dallas, what other stars do you feel could have drawn big money in world class but never came, though? I got one right off the top of my head.
Okay, let's let you go first.
Randy Savage, dude, in '84, him and Kevin Von Erich would have been electric.
Absolutely.
So that's one guy that comes to mind for me. You can, how could have anything been hotter than Chris Adams and Kevin Von Erich in '84, and then Gino and Chris and Kevin and Kerry in '85. But yeah, you got somebody off the top of your head?
Road Warriors.
Yeah.
Piper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The Horsemen.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely like the Road
Barry
Warriors.
Windham.
Yeah, especially like in '86. Like, man,
Rock and Roll Express, Magnum, guys who came here, but bookers didn't want to give them the chance. They said they were too small. Guys who didn't really stay long enough, but were really over and could have got over even stronger. Midnight Express.
Yeah, which I was just
Sting.
I was just thinking, in like 1986, used the right way, man, the Road Warriors. I mean, they would just. I mean, it could have kind of switched from, the Von Erich craze, to Road Warrior mania. I mean, in '86, I mean, they could have really built a lot of good stuff around them.
They could have teamed with Kevin and Kerry.
Yeah.
Or Brody.
Yeah, absolutely.
And put them against Chris and Gina.
Yeah.
Our dad's crew.
Yeah. Also, in your opinion, what is the proper amount of championships for promotion? What is the proper amount of championships for promotion? Man,
3.
3. What being?
Well, I'm against a promotion having a world champion, because if the champion's there every week, negates the importance of the title. Now, I know we moved into territory later with it only being Vince and Jim and Crockett, where Hulk had the WWF belt and Ricky had the NWA WCW belt. But when it works territorial, the world champion shouldn't be there every week. So if I'm going to play the game, I'm going to say we have we're going to have our world champion who's not here all the time. We're going to have probably the United States or American champion and tag belts. That's what we would have. We'd have 3 and overall, but only 2 that were ever present.
Yeah. Okay.
And maybe not so much ever present.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess he's talking about a promotion, so not
because the fewer of them you have, the more emphasis there are on them.
Yeah, I would say 3. Though, yeah, definitely like your main belt, like for your promotion, like that the number one guy is.
And I mean, if it's territorial, then he wouldn't be there every week. Then
right,
if the world champion.
So if it was territorial, I'd say 1 or 2.
Yeah,
and then a tag team championship.
Yeah, then tag team. For me, the tag belt would be the second one.
Yeah, and if it was like a national thing, let's just say WWF and WCW late '80s, then it's 3. So I would say yeah. What do y'all think? Let's hear. Disagree with anything? Let us hear.
And they mean more that way.
All right.
And that way you got to go more for when you're booking your card to where it's going to be more personal issues than it is for the belt itself, because you never want to use the title to draw money, because then you're taking advantage of it and diminishing it
Okay.
in a lot of ways, which is something you would never do before.
Right. Okay. Random Wrestling Archive. Seems like, yeah. Okay. I think we've heard from him. Curious what your dad thought about working with Arman Hussein and H&H International. Also later Jim Holiday for a brief time in '87. So that was Dad's idea,
Yeah,
right?
that was Dad's idea.
Dad really liked Arman.
And it also gave him a lot of credibility with the black fans, which are always very supportive to Dad. And actually, several city officials from the city of Dallas came up to Dad and shook his hand and thanked him for everything that he had done for furthering the career of black wrestlers.
Yeah, it was always like when we were kids, if there was problems with a fan, which was a lot, it was
Mm-hmm.
always a white dude.
Yeah, the brothers were always cool with us. They
Yeah,
liked us.
yeah, it was always. I'd rather drive. I would have rather driven through the roughest, black neighborhoods at night than to a gas station in East Texas with, these
Yeah,
crazy drunk rednecks.
yeah. The brothers and sisters were always cool.
Yeah, very cool. So yeah, Dad really liked Arman Hussein.
And Jim Holiday, he liked him well enough because he came from Indianapolis, and I think Dad had known him from before. And you could always tell how Dad felt about a guy
That's what I was going to
on
say.
camera by the way he interacted with him.
Yeah.
And Jim was someone you could tell that Dad liked, and he had been around for a long time. I'm guaranteed he was very, very respectful to Dad.
Yeah, I was just thinking that you could tell how Dad interacted with someone.
Because Dad was a lot like me. He could not fake if he liked you or not. I mean, if he didn't like you, he wasn't going to bash you or go out of his way to be mean to you. He just wasn't going to say much to you. If he liked you, you were, hey, my boy.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. Thanks for the question. Daniel Moore, our guy. How you doing, Daniel? What's up? Okay. Okay, I think I understand his question. Okay, guys, outside of the cartoon antics of the mid '80s WWF, I thought it got extremely deplorable. It wasn't the traditional good versus bad guy. Your thoughts? So I'm guessing he's talking about outside the cartoony of the mid '80s that it got extremely deplorable, like in the late '90s. Wasn't traditional good guy versus bad
Which
guy.
I'm fine with.
Yeah, I think that's just where the business was at the time.
I mean, I think when it comes to stuff like that, I'm sure he's probably meaning Brett and Steve and probably Nash and Scott.
Well, I think he's talking about the deplorable stuff. I think he's talking about like the raunchy stuff.
Oh, I thought he was talking about just like guys. I thought he was talking about guy where it wasn't so much good guys versus bad guys.
That's another part. That's another part. Yeah.
Well, the deplorable stuff. Well, that's Vince back then hoping that this may be really boring, but if it's outrageous enough, maybe I'll catch a few eyes. That stuff I understood why they were doing it, but I was never because that's cheap. It's like nut shots and cursing during interviews. It's not, you don't have to hold any heat with your work like that.
Right.
But when it comes to that kind of stuff, I was always kind of off put, but I didn't really care about it because I saw what they were doing. Most fans do. But when it comes to not necessarily good guy versus bad guy, I'm all in favor of that. Because sometimes it makes it really interesting. Because Dingo and Hulk, that was two baby faces, but it was a match. Like Randy, when he worked against Dingo at 7, I don't even know if that was a heel and a baby face as much as it was, because when you saw both them guys go to the ring, both those guys were over. It's like when the NWO got when they went to Atlanta, it wasn't so much. I mean, it was bad guys at first, but then it just got to where everybody was over. So I mean, there has to be a heel and a baby face during the match. Someone has to take over that because we have this thing called the finish, because it's got to be. But as far as good guys, baby faces working with other baby faces, you got to be able to do it the right way. Because if you got two baby faces that are really, really good, then you book them together, the people are interested in that. Sometimes if it's the right two guys, but somebody has to take over and turn heel at one point in time of the match, but be smart enough to where at the end of the match, they're right back to being a baby face again. And like sometimes when there's two heel teams, which is more so when it's two heels working against each other, the heel that's more over will become the baby face, and he's got to work to become the baby face in that match. But when he works with the baby faces that he's normally programmed with, then he's got to assume the role of a heel again. So it's harder to become a baby face, to become a heel in the middle of a match and leave the match as a baby face. So I was always for stuff like that at the opportune time when it was right. It's easier to do heel versus heel than it is good guy babyface versus babyface.
Yeah, what he said.
Yeah, because that's harder. But when it comes time to like doing stuff like that, I'm all in favor of it if it's with the right guy. But as far as like the ridiculousness and silliness of the deplorable stuff, it's like, damn, please.
Yeah, that was always kind of like
catching eyes with just anybody will watch that.
Yeah, and I don't know how much that really, like some of that stuff.
It gives people that that aren't interesting, something to hopefully make it more interesting. And if you take that away from them, no one would notice they were even out there.
Yeah. So thanks, Daniel. Let us hear more questions from you. And thank you, GHFC Nation, Gary Hart Fan Club Nation. I'm trying to get that to catch on. So, okay. Anyways, Rick Knight. Just remembered your dad doing some stuff with Ron Garvin when Ron Garvin turned heel. Then Ron disappeared. What happened?
From everything I remember about that, he was still, I don't think that even went, I don't even know if Ronnie was there for a month after we did that. Because I think from what I remember is they started booking him in a series of dog collar matches, I think with Dusty. Right after that happened.
So I always wondered, was Dad, so yeah, I guess did they go to the house shows and do that stuff?
Yes.
Because
that's why because I know a lot
of Did Dad go to the ring with Ronnie?
Yes.
Okay.
I know some of you younger people don't realize every night, everything you see now is TV. Back then we had TV, McMahon's, we did TV so we could go to the arenas. And we shot angles so we could have matches. Now you guys have matches so you can shoot angles. See the difference? So back then, everything was done to try to draw money in the house show. So it was programmed that Ronnie was going to be working with Dusty, which they did. And I think that, and from what I remember, Ronnie, because we had two planes back then, the small one, I think they call it the Falcon.
And
they had
the G1 was the one everybody liked.
But the horse, I think, liked to ride on the Falcon, the fast Lear one.
There was one, the air conditioning went out.
I think that was the G1. And they were on the plane, and the plane landed, and Ronnie went around, shook hands with everybody, says, I'm leaving. And I think the reason why he left, it might have been a bit of a money dispute, not wrestling time. It normally is, but I don't think Ronnie liked the way that it was. I think Ronnie felt that Dusty was just booking him so he could beat him, but turned him heel so Dusty could beat him himself. Is there truth to that? Maybe, but it was Dad, Ronnie, and Al Perez, and I think Ronnie just didn't like the idea. I think he felt like he was just Dusty turned him babyface, heel, just so he could beat him. I think that's the way he felt. That's the way it felt, from everything I could see.
It was interesting.
Him and Dad weren't together very long. They put him with Unk right after that, because once Ronnie left,
who's Unk?
Kevin Sullivan.
Oh.
Once Ronnie left, I remember they said they broke his leg, which wasn't true. And then Ronnie went to
who broke his leg?
Dusty said Dusty beat him up in the dressing
room. Well, yeah, of course that wouldn't be true.
And then then Ronnie went to work for Vern, and then he showed up with Vince about, I think, the spring of that year. So I think Ronnie just didn't like the way it was booked and felt like he was just turned heel so Dusty could beat him.
Yeah, it was interesting though that Dusty put Dad with Ron Garvin. Yeah. Just then Ron disappeared. What happened? So to answer his question,
what happened? Didn't like the way he was booked.
Didn't like the way he was booked. Okay. Yeah, and I just remember. Yeah, I thought.
And Ronnie was over.
Yeah.
He was credible. I mean, he was believable as hell.
Yeah, he definitely.
Because you couldn't hurt him, and he'd hit you, and you could hit him right back. I mean, he was like, it'd be like trying to get rid of like a bunch of, like, if you have like an ant infestation, you can hit them all with everything you have, but they're still going to keep coming back.
Yeah, I thought he added he added something to the show for sure,
and very credible.
Yeah, very.
His work was solid.
Yeah, you got to have guys like that. Like,
yeah, he was. Ronnie was fabulous.
Yeah. All right, Rick Knight, thank you for your question. Let's see here, Lazman. I feel like he's family. Got a question. What are your memories of Lou Perez? Recently seen footage of him wrestling here in New Zealand and was wondering if your dad had dealings with him.
He would come around, and he was working underneath for Crockett and I think he would also do the same thing for Vince. And sometimes he'd be on the same card with Al, and they looked pretty much, they were very, very similar. Al was a little bit bigger, and the trunk boot combination was pretty similar. And Dad was like, "Yeah, that's our cousin Lou. We let him use the name, but Dad always liked him, and Al liked him. They were both Cuban." And so, yeah, that was just like the joke was that's our cousin Lou.
If I remember right, Lou Perez, he would work in the gardens.
Yeah.
No, yeah, okay, is that who I'm thinking
Yeah.
of? Okay.
Yeah, he looked just like Al.
Okay.
He was just a little bit smaller.
I was just thinking, like, anybody got any ideas for like a question of the week, like that we could ask y'all? Like, okay, I'm getting a bad look here.
Question we could ask them.
No,
then
no, no. I
And
mean,
then if
like,
we ask them a question, we could ask them, and they already know the answer.
no, like that they can respond to, like, just something dream match, world class 85, dream match, whatever, and let us know, and then we can talk about it. I don't know. I'm just my music. Yeah. Ben Ho. Okay, here we go.
Hello.
So this question, I didn't really understand it, but you caught it, and if you can like explain what he's
I caught it
asking,
like Michael Irvin on a bang 8.
can you explain what he's saying, and then if you can answer it, okay, or answer it, okay. So, hey guys, a few questions on the Cotton Bowl '86 show. So Cotton Bowl '86 was it was a freak kind of cold snap. Well, I guess it wasn't freak because it was October, but it was
it was cold and rainy that day
in the Cotton Bowl. And I guess if people don't know, Cotton Bowl is it was outdoor football stadium here in Dallas Fort Worth, and they would hold a big wrestling show out there every October. So, anyways, so Cotton Bowl '86, the world title match ended up being Kevin Von Erich winning the title over Black Bart.
Yes.
Are you guys aware if Chris Adams hadn't had his legal problems and the title hadn't had been switched to Bart in an emergency, was the plan? Okay, I kind of see what he's saying now. Was the plan to run a babyface versus babyface Adams Kevin match? Okay, I see what he's saying. Or would Adams had continued his reign a little longer and Kevin had done something else? So he's asking if Chris hadn't have went to prison, would it have been Chris versus Kevin in the main event there, and Kevin had done something else? Do you know?
No,
that would have been way better.
I can't imagine.
I like Black Bart.
I can't imagine them doing that. That's not something we would have. Is it a possibility? Yes, but but to be honest, that would have been a little too modern of an idea.
What do you mean modern?
It would have been something that would have been outside something that George would have.
Yeah, and by that time, man, Chris Adams and Kevin Von Erich was so like just over.
But I can't. I mean, is it a possibility that they might have done a friendly match like that?
Oh, because Chris was a babyface. He said that. Okay.
It's very, very unlikely that we would have tried to have done something like that.
Right.
Is it a good idea in theory? Possibly. I don't hate it, but I just don't know if that would have drawn at that time.
Right.
But to tell you do I know if that was what they're going to do? I'm 95% sure that probably wasn't what was going to happen. Yeah. But would it have been better than what they did? Yes, but that thing had already run its course. They had already shaken hands. They had already said bygones be bygones. The Geno thing was very heavy here. Then we lost Kerry with that's another thing that drove that crowd way down is
okay, so the second part of his question, what was your dad's reaction to such a small crowd for that particular show? I think Dad kind of liked it because he wasn't in charge. So it's kind of like, see, if I was running the place, it'd be a better crowd.
Yeah, okay. I've still got to work the show.
Was the bad weather blamed for the low attendance internally?
Well,
yes and no.
The booker is always going to say, oh, well, it's the weather.
Yeah, as it was rainy and cold.
And the main event was Bruce and Abby.
Well, the main event would have been Kevin and Bart. No,
don't you remember? Back then, it used to take him 45 minutes to set up a cage.
Okay, so Bruce. Okay, so
it's not like now where it drops down.
I don't really remember. I remember that day. I remember we were hanging out at the pool at the apartments. But what was your dad? Because we didn't go that day. Yeah, what was your dad's reaction to such a small crowd for that particular show?
Not good. Dad, there's one thing Dad hated was bad crowds. Right. He'd be like this. But he also did not like the idea of who was carrying the belt at the time. He was still very, very.
And I'll say I really like Black Bart, but Dad and Bart were coworkers and they had their problems, so that was a Dad and Bart thing. Black Bart was always really nice to me.
He was nice to me too, but then there's nice guys, but then someone's going to carry your title. I mean, come on.
So Dad did not like the crowd.
Dad did not like the idea of.
I bet he did a little bit just because
of
he was
him
like,
having the title. Dad also was still didn't like the idea of bringing Ricky Steamboat in and not advertising him.
yeah, I can't believe that.
Also, the weather, you can't control that because that date was set a year in advance most of the time.
Right.
And it was always going to be the day after Texas OU, which is normally how that worked. And because we had to deal with the fair people, so we were grandfathered in with that. I don't know how many years the deal was for, but that was going to happen anyway. So the weather, 6, 7, you can't really do much with that. But then also
6,
Kerry
7.
not being on the show, that hurt. It just, and we were down at that point in time.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely.
But as far as Chris and Kevin, I can't. That would have. Too bad that guy wasn't in the meeting because that probably would have been a little bit better than what they did. But that's not,
really.
That's not something we would have done.
Yeah. So was the bad weather blamed for the low attendance? I'd say
of
no.
Course.
I don't think so.
Of course.
I think that thing
on TV, of course they would have.
Huh?
Yeah, of course.
What?
Of course, the bad weather was blamed for the attendance.
I think those people, those fans, the world class fans, would have came and sat if it was a hurricane.
Yeah, but there was 20,000 over there the year before they were missing.
I know, but I'm just saying. I think it was just the state of the company at the time.
Yeah, but the booker would say, "Oh, well, it's the weather."
No, I'm saying, what do you think?
Do I think the weather had something?
I don't think the weather helped.
I don't think it helped.
But I think it was just.
Do I know that the booker and some of the guys blame the weather? Yes, they did.
Right. I'm just saying, I don't think.
Because it's never the office's fault.
Right.
It's always when it works. Now when it gets over, oh, it's the office. Oh,
yeah.
It's genius. But when it failed, oh, it's him.
Yeah. So Ben Ho, good question, and
remember, whenever the match is bad, it's the people who weren't into it. No, it's you.
Yeah. I never thought of that. Chris and Kevin, that would have Cotton Boy 86. Again, it was already played out, but yeah, that kind of gives it something. Okay. Here we go. Heavy J713. Okay. Was there an idea that your father wanted? Oh, okay. Was there an idea that your father wanted to do, but for whatever reason was not able to do it? That's the first part of the question.
It's hard for him to get in those situations where he wasn't able to do something he wanted.
Yeah. The Jim Tuba thing. I mean, is there anything you can think of off the top of your head?
Oh yeah, but mostly if Dad didn't do something, it wasn't because he didn't have the power to do it. It's he couldn't find the right guys. He wanted to do something where it was one guy. My brother's coming in. My brother's coming in. This tag team partner, and it would be a white guy. And when the brother shows up, it's black guy.
Right.
And people are like, yeah. And he goes, every morning I wake up, I try to get this white skin off. So when he first saw Mark Merrill, he goes, that'd been a perfect guy that I could have done that with. Mm-hmm. A guy who was lighter skinned. I mean, it was always something like that.
Dad always liked the Dudley Boys.
Yeah.
And I never, I just remember Dad, like at that time, the Hardy Boys were really over. And I don't remember there was like 2 wrestling magazines laying around, and there was one with the Hardy Boys on it, and I picked that one up, and Dad picked the one up with the Dudleys. Dad liked the Dudley Boys because they did the same thing, right? They were supposed to be brothers, but half brothers. One was black and one was white, or something like that.
Because what Dad wanted to do was like the guy's gonna be like kind of light skinned, or maybe he could have been totally white. Yeah. And said, my tag team partner's coming in. My brother is coming in, and then when the brother shows up, it's actually a brother.
Yeah.
And then the lighter skin says, every day I wake up, I'm trying to wipe this off.
Yeah.
That's
Dad also always talked about he wanted to do. Dad liked the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah,
movie.
He wanted to do a guy called the Gorilla Boy.
Yeah.
To where he said that he was from Tanzania. Somehow he went in and he studied the motions of the silverback and kept mimicking them. So that way he actually became that thing, and you had to find the right guy to be able to do it. You're going to get the whole mask and everything like that.
Yeah,
and that was going to be kind of expensive too to be able to get that kind of mask. But he was always. I mean, stuff like the only time his dad didn't do something, it wasn't because he didn't have the power to do it. He just had to find the guys to do
Well,
it.
sometimes, like in Atlanta at the end,
Well,
they had his
nobody had
hands
a
tied.
power to do anything there.
He also, this was after he retired, the
Mhm.
Jim Carrey movie, The Mask. I remember Dad wanted to create, or if he was still in wrestling, he got something to do with that. I don't know. So second part of his question: who out of today's wrestlers, WWE, AEW, New Japan, etc., do you think your father would have liked to have had back in the day as either a client or on his roster? I just know like some of the guys like of the late '90s after Dad retired, guys that he saw a lot of talent in. He liked Sean O'Hara. He liked Mark Jindrak.
Mm-hmm.
He
Batista,
Batista,
Randy Orton,
Randy Orton. It was guys. Again, Dad.
Cena,
Yeah, Dad just saw him
Edge,
like just seeing him on TV for a couple seconds, and Dad, he did it all the time.
Kurt Angle.
He'd see a guy and he'd be like, and then within a year, the guy'd be super over.
Yeah.
Yeah, he liked all those guys. And
Nowadays, it's kind of hard because everything is so different. The guys are not; they don't really work the same. They don't really look the same. I'm kind of hard pressed to think of who it would. I mean, the Von Erichs, obviously Marshall and Ross. I'm probably Roman. That would be.
I think he'd like Sting's son.
Oh yeah, he would like him. But other than that, it would be.
That's a push for Sting's son.
Yeah, if
Why
you're
are they not
if you're
doing something
smart, do
more with
that.
him?
Yeah, if you're smart, do that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not saying that in a bad way. I don't know.
I'm saying in a what is the matter with you type way. But I mean, I watch so little now to where I really wouldn't be able to. I mean, you could walk four of the guys in here, and I probably wouldn't know who they were anyway.
We have Chris Bradshaw to thank that this is still going on. I was about to quit doing Guess That Tune. This is a classic.
And no, it's not Frida, because there is no Phil Collins.